Good afternoon, brothers and sisters, families and friends, loved ones watching. Wanted to do a thing this afternoon before we got on tonight about 9/11 and where were you when 9/11 happened? If you was born in them times, if you was around in them times, if you was aware in them times, and give a few minutes, gonna share this out, and we'll get started. But where were you? And remembering 9/11, brothers and sisters, and remember 9/11. The good, the bad, and the in-between. But give me a few minutes, we'll share this out, brothers and sisters. We'll get started. Hope everybody's having a good afternoon and had a good morning, family. Kept on in firing lines, brothers and sisters. Kept on in firing lines. Give me a few minutes, we'll share this out. Alright, brothers and sisters, my brothers and sisters come on. Good to have y'all, brothers and sisters, this afternoon, evening, wherever y'all are watching. Hope y'all keeping on in firing lines, brothers and sisters. But where were you when 9/11 happened? And remembering 9/11, remember all them ones, brothers and sisters, that gave their lives, to sacrifice their lives to try to save a brother or a sister in that fire, in them buildings. What they was told at one time, and then finding out about the truth from the lies from 9/11 as we remember 9/11. But we're going to talk about, at first, we're going to talk about where were you? Where were you when 9/11 happened in the point of your life, if you were still alive, or if you was alive? Point in my life, I was working at a factory in Florence, Kentucky. 9/11 happened. Worked at a factory called Mubia that made suspension springs for General Motors and BMW and all kinds of stuff. And out there doing suspension springs and sitting there working, doing my job. And a woman goes and gets coffee for us. Came back from the coffee and she said, "They're bombing us, they're bombing us. They're putting planes in the building." And I said, "What are you talking about, woman?" Then the sister found out, they was saying the narrative on the news was that planes had to hit the World Trade Center buildings. And so I said, I got to go in the cafeteria, because they had a TV set up in the cafeteria at Mubia where I worked. And by the time I walked in about 9-something, 10-something, one of the buildings fell. My heart dropped. I was just like, what in the world is going on? Like shock and awe. Just the deepest feeling. People running for their lives. Then, at first buying that narrative that planes hit the World Trade Center buildings, that terrorist Arabian men with box cutters hijacked airplanes and flew airplanes into the building. Not knowing about the CGI, what they know how to do with television and the news broadcasting, and then have set up paid actors to make up their narrative along the way when the news is going on. Had no idea for a while back. It took a while to remember that, but wanted to reflect when I was first got back, and my mom, dad, sisters, we all was huddled together, like probably most of y'all, by the TV or the television, like we call it now, and seeing what the next move was, seeing what this was going on, seeing about this, and then we got the characters now we know about, the Rulai Giuliani, that lied and covered up all that evidence for the Bush Nazi family. And then all the fire chiefs is told it was safe to go in there, and fire crew, police, told it was safe to go in there to rescue people. And then all them people breathing in that asbestos, breathing in that air, everybody that worked upon the city, like one of the good documentaries is one based on AJ's in it a little bit, but he ain't the big character in it. The big brothers and sisters. They're talking about the asbestos and about the firemen and the emergency crews, people that work down there. And then the EPA saying it's okay to go down there and work, and end up losing their lives, and all that. But quite a few documentaries came out about 9/11, about 3 or 4 years after 9/11 started happening. People started doing their homework, brothers and sisters like-minded. But at the time, we thought that terrorists hijacked buildings, most people did, and thought and believed the narrative. Believed the narrative all across the television screens. Even some people still hold on to that to this day. Still believe that happened, that narrative happened, instead of the real story of what happened. And then the fire chief and the firemen telling about bombs going off after the planes hit, explosions going off. One of them said, as soon as the elevator opened, it exploded. He said, that ain't right. And very good documentary. It's on the Alex Jones Show. Chronicles of 9/11. The Chronicles of 9/11. Really breaks down the first parts of 9/11. Shows the first video clips before some of the newscast and broadcasting edited and put their narrative in their videos. How they did that CGI with stuff. And some of them really spoke out against Zelensky, Giuliani, and then them same characters, people sitting there putting them on a pedestal. And then some of them was in the last administration. And then supposedly he was supposed to release a lot of the documentation. He didn't release diddly squat. Nothing happened. Same narrative. Then he put some of them key players that was involved in 9/11, from Rulai, Giuliani, sweeping off all that evidence, burying all that evidence. Even the bodies didn't give a proper burial. Was quick to sweep it all away. But it devastated a lot of people, even to this day. I remember watching the Chronicles of 9/11 2 or 3 weeks ago. And it really maybe had a reflection of how far we've come as a people. And how some people still buy, some people know what it's called, a slang word called lunch meat. Keep on buying that lunch meat that they keep on feeding you. Instead of the truth, the way, and the light, and that love letter that the blood of the Lamb gave each one of us in the testimony. And to open up our eyes and see the truth from the lies and the deceptions. But woke up about, started waking up about 9/11, about 24, 25 years old, when I was in a spot, thought I was getting stuff out of my life. And when I was, you've heard my testimony about me being locked up, and started hearing people that was locked up about 9/11 and the other side of 9/11, and about the Bush family, and about the Clintons, and about the pedophile ruler over there across the sea. That people want to put honor and glory to that woman, when the only thing that I'm praying for is I pray that she repented for all the things and the pedophile stuff that she was involved in, and her family. But that's between her and the Father and that family. But that's not our queen. And then what do you think? And then some people, that ain't our king. We only have one king, that Messiah, Yahushua HaMashiach. That's not y'all's king. That's not our king. And half of these people ain't even our leaders. And not even our elders. The wrong kind of leadership all in all. Because most of it's nothing but Antichrist systems. We've talked about that plenty of times, brothers and sisters. About the Antichrist system some of us was born into. From birth certificates, lying social security systems, making you a slave number when you come out the womb. And fathers woke up a remnant of people for his namesake in these times. Didn't have it all together, didn't know everything, but he's led us to all this truth, and continues to lead us to all this truth while we're in this flesh body. And being content with what we need and what we don't need. And know who we need to serve, and who we need to be praying and looking out for, and giving props and appreciation where appreciation's due. Like-minded brothers and sisters in this truth movement for a long time. It wasn't just a Q thing. Some of us knew this stuff before, when Anonymous was around. And some people quick forget Anonymous. They quick to forget the other brothers into the 9/11 truth movement. They forget about all these other groups that was around before this supposedly Q movement. So while they tried to take all this credit, the most credit was due is on us, brothers and sisters, when we was in them YouTube, when YouTube was actually YouTube, looking up the documentation, when AJ kind of sort of was actually AJ. And y'all know who I'm talking about when it talks to AJ. And other brothers and sisters too, Mark Dice, other ones too. But then some of them that looks like they changed, sometimes it's like they either sold out a little bit, somebody's gotten to them, because you can tell. And then sometimes they still don't want to speak out against that last administrator, knowing there's things that he's still holding on to, especially the shab. That he still wants, thinking, oh, it's okay, you need to go get your shab. Go get your booster. Sad. Still pray for him now. But still, that ain't your queen. They was involved in it too, all of them. This administration was involved in 9/11. That Bush administration. All of them knew about it. Why? The United Nations, was before some of us was even born. That was already around. The Council on Foreign Relations. Foreigners already knowing everything going on. Then just playing the hidden hand and just making an illusion on front of our televisions. Wanting us to buy that lunch meat. Buy that narrative. Thinking that it's true. Whether you live in this country, whether you live in the United Kingdom, China, Russia, Iran, Iraq, Israel. But then finding out that we're all Israel. Many bodies of them tribes of Israel. That it wasn't just one country he came for. He came for all the tribes, didn't he, brothers and sisters? And still some people get obtuse about that. I'm sorry. I didn't write the book, the Father did. Through men that was being led by the Ruach HaKodesh. And then that Messiah that had his love letter written too. When he was walked down here as a man. Showing us that way, that truth, and that light, even to this day. And the love letter that's still writing itself. Because we get in by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. The truths we get led to. The truths we speak. The watchmen on the wall, the watchwomen on the wall. Blowing our trumpets. Sharing everything that Father leads us to. Even though some of it's hard to swallow and accept sometimes as the truth. But then that set apart spirit, he keeps going at you and going at you with that truth until you start finally accepting it, bucking down, getting to your prayer closet, getting in them documentations while the documentations are still there. And not waiting for everybody to always show it to you, but getting in the love letter and getting into documentaries. And there's plenty of good documentaries still to this day that tell the truth about 9/11. And that one that I spoke to about earlier, that's a really good one, the Chronicles of 9/11. And then, like I get another one, Endgame. There's plenty of them. The Fall of the Cabal. But then, before the Q was around, there was other people that was being led to all this truth, Like I spoke many times around that kitchen table with my grandpa. And him telling the truth about MLK getting killed by our own administrators. Supposed to be the rulers. About JFK getting killed. RFK getting killed. Because they didn't want to go by the narrative all the time. And when you didn't go about the narrative, and you spoke against the narrative, they took you out. And other people you don't even know about. Them are just people that's on the headlines. Thank brothers and sisters, all the brothers and sisters that led a lot of the truth. That was never on the headlines, never on media or anything. And ended up getting killed for the truth. Some of the stuff they knew at their time and the year they lived on this earth, that Father willed it. Speaks volumes. But then, that's, my grandpa, he just, and some of my family, they just led us to some of these truths. And others, the rabbit hole continued. Hold on one second, I gotta get this little bit of fire going. But yeah, 9/11 was a real wake-up call for a lot of us too. But, I woke up about 3 or 4 years after it happened, after 9/11 happened, and since then, Father's led me to this rabbit hole, to the biblical cosmology, flat earth, when I was 30 years old, back in 2010, 2011. Back to a lot of stuff, the Operation Northwoods, like Sister Jen Murray, she shared a post about all the things, the Vietnam War lie, the JFK, all of it, even the founding, like Father told me, it was even this whole country, a lot of things was based on lies, like the Indians saying there was nothing but the savages, and there was self-sufficient people, they knew how to live off the land, and have sovereignty, they knew each other's districts, each other's boundaries, but they lived off the land, they preserved off the land. They were sovereign people. Short-lived. Then it started colonizing over here. Started instituting things. Wanting men to be rulers over them. Instead of ruling themselves. Being self-sufficient people. Knowing that the Messiah is ruling every one of us. And that love letter ain't changed. And the love letter still continues by the testimony He gives each one of us in our lives. But then they can quickly try to change the narrative from this narrative, that narrative. I could care less. My condolences. I pray for her soul. I pray for their salvation, them evil people. But like Father's been having me in Isaiah these last few days too. And one scripture I shared today. Woe to those who are heroes at drinking wine, the wrong kind of wine, the wrong kind of wisdom, the wrong kind of truth, which is nothing but lies. Men and women whose power goes to mixing strong drinks, the wrong kind of ways, the lawlessness instead of the right kind of ways, the set apart ways of life. Who acquit the guilty for bribes. In other words, they take bribes for a little bit of the lunch meat that they are getting, instead of standing up for this truth and way and drawing that line in the sand. But the Father's already been drawing this line in the sand for quite some time. But deny justice to the righteous, the ones that are set apart and that have that set apart ways about them. But yeah, woe to those. And then also too, and yesterday I shared this one, therefore Sheol has enlarged itself and opens its limitless jaws. And down go their nobles and masses. Down goes the old ways, the old rulership, the evil entities. How Father wills it according to His will. Because He has their life too. They don't have their own life. They might try to cheat death and this and that, and Father might want to give them a pretty picture. But they still have to answer at the end. The Messiah has all their lives. Even that enemies. Along with their nobles, along with their noise and their rebels, their noise, their lawlessness ways, their indoctrination systems too. And thinking that was the way we're supposed to live and be. Like my sister Elizabeth shared today. When it's time to be a set apart way of life, and the Messiah and the Father teaches you that through the Ruach HaKodesh and this love letter. The masses are lowered, the nobles are humbled, proud looks will be brought down. It's happening right now. But Yahweh, through the blood of the Lamb, is exalted through justice. Yahweh, the set apart one, and the Holy One, through the blood of the Lamb, Yahushua HaMashiach, is consecrated through righteousness. Nobles in the old ways, like he said, all things become new. The replenishing of the lands, the new heaven and the new earth, whether out of the body or in this body. But holding on and keeping on that fire line. But then once that happened, finding out about the books that got taken out, about the religious systems, about the Freemasons, about the Illuminati, the Shriners, and then the other ones, how they just changed their names too, and they're still involved in them too. From the Bilderberg Group, the Council on Foreign Relations, the United Nations, and then how the biblical cosmology map the Earth, how it really is, and has Antarctica going all the way around the Earth on the map of the United Nations. Open mockery. Just like my brother Cody Osborne shared a little clip of the new Pinocchio. How it's got that evil entity. You find out about how evil Tom Hanks is. Saying something, the truth about flat earth and biblical cosmology. How the sun really goes around us. But then how sick and sadistic they're doing it because it's a pedophile that's saying it. Open mockery, even in the Men in Black. But people sometimes their subconscious don't pay that. They don't pay that much attention to what's going on. But yeah, I remember that day was devastating. And still, all the people that died for no reason, just for a ritual, pretty much. And some people has been led to that 9/11 is actually the Messiah's when he was birthed, when that was his actually day he was born. But then they use it as open mockery. It's really, really deep. It really woke us up. A couple years, 2 years, maybe a little bit after. But it started waking people up. And a lot of my family, they didn't like it. But then it was like, you told us the truth you told us about this, you told us about that. And then, start finding out about the Bush family, the Nazis. The Nazis being funded over here. Then you start finding out about World War II. Them knowing that Pearl Harbor was going to be hit. Knowing about all this stuff. The bankers funding both sides of the war. It's a hot, heated mess. And this rabbit hole goes deep, very deep indeed. And like I said, Sister Frankie shared a post. She shared a post last night, I think, and I commented on it too. She said, "When did you wake up and find out that 9/11 was an inside job?" And it was back in 2004. I was 24 years old. Like I said, I got a hold of "Behold a Pale Horse" by William Cooper. Other brothers was incarcerated, started telling me the truth about 9/11. And that was when the internet was first coming out, and YouTube was YouTube, and there was a lot of brothers and sisters connecting with, and like I said, the old AJ, and then there was other people too besides AJ that was sharing a lot of truth on there. And props to them pioneers and the anonymous movement. And before this one thing they want to say, they showed us, led us to this right now, and it was actually the Ruach HaKodesh, the Father, and that blood of the Lamb, Yahushua HaMashiach, who gets all the credit for leading us to all this truth and opening up our eyes to the reality in which we're living. If there's somebody that needs to get credit, it's all of us as brothers and sisters coming together and leading and sharing all throughout the years all the stuff that Father Yahweh, through the blood of the Lamb, Yahushua HaMashiach, has led us to. He's the only one that gets the credit where credit's due, and keeping us going. And does it break our hearts? Yeah, it makes us remember, how far we come, but still how sometimes even the stuff still going on from the Shabs, people buying that, and praying for discernment too. We get our rights from the Father, and we know our yays and nays, and when we say no, you don't force something on somebody. And finding out about all the Shabs, even stuff that we took in when we was kids, and our parents didn't even know about. And then seeing kids and some of our friends end up getting diseases, getting sick, end up dying at young ages. And then you start thinking, could that been a reason, a Shab, when we was kids? And people ain't putting even one and one together. That the Shabs, even when we was kids, if their immune system was weak, could cause the cancers, cause the brain aneurysms. And then what Father's waking up a lot of people to is they know that people's waking up and knowing that the law, they have trouble on their hands. Well, why is that? Well, when you have killed tons and tons of people, and you're not being accountable, and people's waking up, and the Father's waking his children up, there's blood on their hands. There's blood on this administrator's hands, and this one lived around. There's ones that before them, many of them, all of them. I ain't seen hardly any one. They had to answer to the Father and that blood of the Lamb. We love them, we forgive them, but they're not our leaders, not our rulers. They're our brothers. They're very, very lost. A lot of them sold their soul openly to the devil himself. And what they got from the devil, being obedient, going more through blood, sweat, and tears, not having everything, but having everything that the Father wants you to have while you're in this earth, and that blood of the Lamb, and being content what you do need, instead of what you think you want, and what you think you do need. And He does forgive. He does forgive even the best of us, but it's between you and that Father and that High Priest, Yahushua HaMashiach. He's telling y'all, confess, come up, you ain't nobody's ruler, confess your sins, or it's coming. Some of them, how it says in the Word too, they're going to run for the caves and they're going to hide, and they're going to say, hide the face on the one that sits upon the throne and the one coming, because they know their days are numbered. Ain't no clone that's going to cheat it. Ain't no amount of medicine that's going to cheat your death either. You know, we done seen that quite a few days ago. Everybody's like, is she? No. Everybody has an out date. Everybody has an out date. And the Father and the blood of the Lamb knows that. And He has all the keys. Even the ones that's done much lawlessness. And done a lot of killing. A lot of innocent bloodshed and wars. And then trafficking the drugs with the wars. Because we started finding out too, that was another thing about going to Afghanistan. They was #1 in the world for growing opium. Then when you started opium, then the military, some of them was speaking out saying that they was going on military planes and bringing the opium over here on military planes. And then what you start seeing too, people started seeing doctors over-prescribing people pain pills. Then you started seeing people going from the pain pills on heroin. Why? Because then they was controlling the opium. It wasn't just because of war on terror. It was a war on to control opium and that cash crop. Some of them, even Pat Tillman, ended up getting him killed. The truth and reason why Pat Tillman, they said, because he's getting ready to speak out what was really going on over there in Afghanistan. Even my cousin that was over there in Iraq and did a tour over in Iraq. When he got back, he said, never again. Never again. And he said, why in the heck are we over there? And he was even some of the people too talking about bragging and molesting 15-year-olds, 14-year-olds, taking turns, sick. And you're supposed to show the love of Christ there, really? And then like Father said too, about killing and war. And what the enemy taught Aziel, the weapons of war and killing and bombs and all this staining military stuff. What did he say? What did he say about that? He said it to Noah. He said it to Noah's sons. That he despised it. Making swords and killing each other. And then you're supposed to show, like Father said, you're supposed to show the love of Christ. It's supposed to be a godly nation, really. You're saying Yahweh bless America, or they're saying God bless America, not even telling you who they're serving. But then you finally start waking up, you start seeing. The veil gets lifted and you start seeing who they're actually serving, some of these men and women. And it's not the father of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It's not the father of Moses. It's not the father of Yahusha. It's not the father of us, brothers and sisters. It's the God of this world. Gives you a pretty picture. But the veil gets lifted and you start seeing the line gets drawn in the sand. You start seeing truth from lies. Regardless of what kind of man-made law they want to try to justify something they want to live. When Father's love letter and the law and the Ruach HaKodesh, that set apart spirit, said that the law is already going to be in your hearts and minds. It's already going to tell you right from wrong. And when you sit there and continue to practice lawlessness, continuing to live in sin openly, not against man and woman, but against that Father and that Creator who created you, and against that Messiah, the one that saved us and spoke life and gave away for each one of us back to the Father, and how both of them and that Ruach HaKodesh all work together for His glory. You don't take that mercy and grace for granted anymore. When you start seeing how much of the veil's been lifted off your eyes, and how much He's showed you from the truth to the errors of this world, and the #1 lawless ones that leads all men and women to them lawless ways, Satan, and some of them call him Aziel in some scriptures. But he's that one ringleader that led the 200 astray. One led the astrology, one led the beautifying of makeup, ornaments on women, this and that. Read about jingling of women and wearing jewelry and stuff to get their attention. Hand in hand. When people overdo it, especially. And not being content in the beauty that Father's created each one of us to be. Stuff goes deep. Stuff really goes deep, family. I'll never forget that. And then, I'll be the first one. I thought that was how you're supposed to be. We had certain family members. Yeah, you're supposed to kill them. They don't agree with us. Kill them all. And then thinking that they're all serving a Muslim religion, not the set apart way. And some of them knowing Yeshua or Yahusha over there, a set apart way of life. Not even knowing also the lost books, talking about Ishmael, which is the Arabians, and his brother sitting hand in hand. Some of them lost the way, forgotten the way, but there was a time and some of them knew that set apart way. Even now, they know that set apart way, truth and the life. Because it was a way of life. It was a one-on-one personal relationship. It was living as tribes, how he's wanting us to be. And not waiting for a dictator political system and religious system to do it. But knowing greater is he who is in you than he who is in this world. And all the brothers and sisters that's living as one mind and one accord, as best they know how, as the communities and the congregations that he wants us to be. And coming up out of her, my people. Coming up out of her, my people. How many times has he been saying that? Come out of her. All of it. Get your kids out of it. All of it. No excuses no more. The line's being drawn and has been drawn. The trumpets are sounding. I don't know how much clearer they need to be sounding. And how much beautiful the brothers and sisters that's been led to all this truth. And I love each one of y'all. And all the things that y'all been led to share. Bible studies. Biblical cosmology. 9/11 documentaries. Other unjustified war documentaries. The political empires. The religious empires. Which is not but antichrist empires altogether. Probably 99.9% of them. And like Father's led me to, a lot of us ain't had that fully set apart way. Like certain ones have experienced in the book of Acts or Indians. Short-lived. And then sometimes they just change the books. And then put their dictators and their Kenites in there. And make their Kenite laws. Which ain't law at all. Anything that don't go hand in hand with that love letter and what the blood of the Lamb's already saying our yeas and nays are, that's not justified. And we can't go idly by with that. And when you have dictators and pedophiles and antichrist rulers doing things totally against the Father Yah and that blood of the Lamb, you can't sit idly by and be that watchman and watchwoman and not blow your trumpet and say something in these times. Or the past however long you've been alive on this earth. Like I said, some people that's younger, they wasn't even alive when 9/11 happened. They weren't even aware. All they know is what they've been either taught, been led to know, and who knows what some has been taught who's going to watch this today. Or whoever does catch the replay on this. However long they keep it on. Yeah, you start finding out that 9/11 was an inside job. It was actually your own evil, sick, twisted, pedophilia, and all kinds of things, unjust wars, lying about where we really live. All of it. Sick movie garbage, music garbage, all of it. Not just this nation, because it says in the book of Revelation that they partook of all. They took a cup of all her iniquities. They drunk all the nations drunk. That means, and then you start knowing what year you're born, and you start finding out, like, wow, this nation's participated in this part, this nation's in this part, this nation's doing this part. They've all drunk that cup. And they're still, most of them, is drinking that lunch meat, that garbage. that iniquity, that lawlessness. When Father's saying, come up out of her, my people, and be them brothers and sisters like-minded who you need to be as best as you know how, as that Ruach HaKodesh leads us. Not us doing the leading, but that set-apart spirit that's doing us the leading. Since we came up out of the womb until our last breath. When Father says, it's your last breath, son. It's your last breath, daughter. But wanted to get on here this afternoon and remember of 9/11. Didn't know if somebody was going to catch on and see when, where were you when 9/11 happened? When it was the year that you woke up and found it out that 9/11 wasn't as true as what you was told on that television? And when was your wake-up point? Certain people woke up certain points, different years. But it was a wake-up call. Like me, Sister Frankie, other brothers and sisters, Derek, Jason, Paul, a lot of brothers and sisters in Kentucky. They'll say that was our wake-up call. When we started finding out about 9/11, it's like it went from one rabbit hole to another rabbit hole and another rabbit hole. And even if you, like some of my friends and brothers and sisters, that they'll tell you too, they're like, even when you try to turn it off, that rabbit hole, it's like Father will bring that right back in your face somehow, some way. And a little bit of even subliminal messaging. And then you know it's something there because some brother or sister along the way spoke a word or said something and prophesied something like we was talking about last night. Prophesied or spoke a word in that brother or sister's ear and it would not let it loose. And then here it is on the television or however he does it on this or an ad or whatever. In the Word, while you're in the Word or a little bit of thing you're scrolling on the Facebook. And, some of it, you got to be aware of, But yeah. But Father praying for all them brothers and sisters that lost loved ones that was up there that tried to dedicate their lives and do and save people, not knowing the true narrative, even though they would still go in there because that was the right thing. They turn around then and it'd be like, you need to arrest all them people that's in Washington, that's in behind this. And then about all the gold stole too. Trillions and trillions of dollars of gold stole or secretly disappeared overnight when that happened too. A lot of things, when 9/11, then, people was telling bombs went off, and then other people were saying in the Pentagon that a bomb hit it, and then some people was trying to shut up that narrative, and then people was trying to take people's footage of the actual camera without the airplanes hitting the building, and it was actually exploding, and no airplane in the CGI. Later on, you find out about CGI, even how NASA, how they do the fake space, and all that, with NASA and the CGI. And computer graphics, even to this day. And then people don't understand, they still don't want to talk about the underground cables that actually connect the web and the internet and everything. There's pretty much no satellites at all. And what you see up there as stars is actually angelic beings, or brothers, or sister. Right there circling the throne with the Messiah, Yahushua HaMashiach, and the Father Yahweh. And then that Spirit is speaking life in us each and every day. And I thank Father for waking us up another day, and I thank Him for giving me the opportunity to share this out, And 9/11 was an inside job. It was a wake-up call for all of us. But y'all have a blessed afternoon, family. Keep on them firing lines. I'll be on tonight, 8:30. Might be outside. Might be on the front porch. Might have a slight chance of rain, but we'll see what Father wills. If not, we'll be out here on the campfire and be doing 1 Corinthians, being a 2-part chapter tonight. Well, first chapter and the very important chapters, this part of 1 Corinthians, but the whole book is. And thank the Father for leading me to the chapters He's been wanting me to get into in the books, and the opportunity to share the stuff from the Gospels of all of it, Enoch, Jasher, a little bit of Jasher, yep, and Jubilees, John, and Revelations. We've been in a lot of books, brothers and sisters. Brothers and sisters have been following me for quite some time, the past 2 years. But stay true, keep on them firing lines, and remember 9/11 and the truth, and the other brothers and sisters that don't even know about 9/11, it being an inside job and your own institution doing that, and how the rabbit hole goes. There's documents there. You can do the research. It's still there while it's available. You sitting there and you not wanting to go in denial and not wanting to research it yourself. You're lying to yourself, and you're holding back the opportunity to know the truth instead of the lies. But hold true, family. Keep on them firing lines. I love each and every one of y'all. Be on tonight about 8:30, family. And love each and every one of y'all. Have a blessed afternoon, family. And remember, 9/11 is an inside job. One in Christ, Yahushua HaMashiach, because it's in each one of us, family. Keep on them firing lines.